Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, or whatever time zone it is, whether you in the world, it is your Lore Saviour. And today we've got a bit of a special treat. For me, that is, because we're going to be talking about one of my favourite TTRPGs of all time, and one that I feel has had pretty much the largest significance of how I run and play TTRPGs. And I know this seems a bit melodramatic, especially in the context of everything else that I talk about the channel, and how I haven't really talked about this TTRPG all that much in context of all of that. But we are going to be talking today about Mörk Borg, or Mörk Borg, or Mörk Borg as I once heard, but I'm not particularly fond of that pronunciation, so we're just going to headcanon that one out of existence. Developed by Stockholm Cartel and published by Free League Publishing in 2022, this teeny tiny bit of yellow has become one of the great underdog stories within the TTRPG sphere in recent years, I feel. That's now developed somewhat of an oversaturation problem in terms of homebrew fan content, which I will talk about in a bit. But as I mentioned a moment ago, this little game here, I feel, has really had a huge significant impact about how I run and play TTRPGs, particularly the former, because I'm often the forever GM in these scenarios. Whilst the original intention was going to be like one of my standard reviews where I go through and I pick apart things and put things back together again, I kind of realised that I think it would be a lot more beneficial to be talking about why you should be playing this game, why you should run it, and why I think you should be taking a couple of really core key ideas from this and implement them into any other TTRPG that you're going to be playing. And of course we are going to do a little review here and there, but there really isn't that much to say because I've kind of covered the vast majority of it in other videos already, because as I've said before, there really isn't a lot to this. The world is ending, it's got like this sort of very poignant death black metal sort of aesthetic, and yet it takes itself not very seriously because of this, which I think is fucking fantastic. And one of the nice little details about the presentation here on the spine, in between those letters, there are other letters that glow in the dark, which is a bit difficult to see, and I don't actually remember what it says, and I can't actually read it here, so you can go and grab a copy from your local game store and let me know down in the comments below. But in terms of its presentation, Mörk Borg is somewhat infamous to being a little challenging at first to tackle, because it doesn't really have a contents page. It just sort of launches straight into the fiction, for which there's not all that much, and I don't know how well I'm going to be able to do this. You've got an adventure at the back as well. It's all very shiny or very pop arty, with very mix of combination of drawn pieces and photo bashing elements, which I probably will get to. Like that, for example, which uses a combination of stock photo art and art from dead people, as they jokingly put it, and other, of course, iconic original pieces done by Johan Nor, I don't know the pronunciation, that Swedish guy in it, so I do apologise if I'm butchering your name. But you have this end of the world thing when you're deciding when you're going to play. You choose something known as a misery thing, where there's a different dice type, which if you roll a 1 on one of those specific dice types, you move a little bit closer towards the world ending being eaten up by this two-headed basilisk. Lovely stuff, which is really awesome. It's simple, it's effective, I suppose. You have this big old land with different kingdoms, with different monarchs that are doing this, that and the other, but it really doesn't offer much in terms of, if you're going into this expecting World of Darkness level of world building and meta plot, I'm sorry, this is not the game for you. It just presents a very basic overview of the grim, grimy shit that's happening, which acts more as like a plot starter sort of thing that can propel you into going in a particular direction to inspire the brain juices, as it were, using very much the less is more approach. Mörk Borg is sort of an OSR TTRPG. OSR meaning old school revival or renaissance, depending on your outlook on life. I say sort of because it's not exactly the same as old OSR, which, as I failed to mention just now, emulates the old D&D aesthetic with some modern sensibilities. So what that means is that Mörk Borg is a D20 system. You're looking for 12 and higher. When you're making a character, you roll a bunch of D6s, depending if whether your character's classless or you're using one of the classes in here that you can determine randomly by rolling a D6, I believe, or D8 or something like that. And then you, depending on the numbers that you get with those D6s, you get a modifier, a plus or negative, and you add or subtract that to whatever you roll to a D20. And what I really like about that is that it's not 10 and higher, so it's not like a 50-50 split to you being the heroic, it's 12 and higher, so things are just a little bit more that difficult, which is a very interesting little slight twist on the mechanic to reflect that everything's gone to shit and you are probably going to die. And your characters are effectively glass cannons, for which you don't get a lot of HP to play around with. When you get down to 0 HP, you're unconscious. If it gets below that, you're dead. There's no saving throw for you, you're just dead, and then you can just roll up a new character. So it kind of teaches you not to care too much about your character concepts too much, because you are going to die, probably horrifically and probably painfully. Because, again, from the artwork that I've shown you and the front and back cover, it's kind of borderline to horror experience, but not too much. As I said, there's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek element to it, where some of the things that you can roll up to determine how your character looks, or weird quirks, can be a bit silly, but it's a bit gross at the same time. So it's like borderline a horror, grim, dark experience, but not too much, because I think a lot of people get into this quite easily and just play up some of the more sillier elements if you so wish, because horror and comedy do go hand in hand with each other. I think they're very nice, suitable bedfellows as well. And because of its size and the accessibility of its rule set, you can download this for free from their website and start playing right now. You could even be playing as you're watching this. Like, it's so simple to get into, and what I've just told you of its rule set is it. And if you ever forget about how rules and combat works, you can just open up the back cover of the book, and it's just everything that you need right there. So you don't even need to read the fucking book, because we know how much players don't actually like reading, because it's just there. And if that's too much for you, you can get this on the website as well and just download and print that off. Although I wouldn't recommend doing that, because that's a lot of yellow ink. But the point is that it's there for you to use for free, which is really fucking cool. Like, how many game companies can you think of that legitimately provide their rules for free? I say legitimately because people will like put up their rules and things and pirate stuff, of course. Pathfinder, I know, has like all the rules and things on a website for you to do, but you can go and download the basic rules from a website for free. And like, you've got all these like corpse plundering tables, a D10, occult treasures, traps and delivery, weather, names of a D8 and a D6 as well. Lots of randomness, which is something that I've often mentioned when I'm running games, and I've done the how to run TTRPG videos that I've done. That I tend to embrace the chaos. I use a lot of randomness when I'm deciding like various different events, whether it be NPC motivations, the actual elements of the campaign. Which is funny, because this is also the same year that I got into solo TTRPGing, and Mörk Borg was the second TTRPG that I played solo, now that I think about this. The first one was Vampire, because of course I'd be doing Vampire first. But Mörk Borg was the second, because I had sort of wanted that sort of fantasy OSR sort of experience, because even though I've talked about many times on the channel not really liking D&D, there was a bit of FOMO going on, fear of missing out, because I wasn't playing like the main fantasy TTRPG. I just found it all a bit convoluted and complex, and didn't like it just because it was just super popular, really, which might seem a bit pretentious, but I suppose I am. I guess I ain't perfect. I've never once tried to let on that I am perfect. And this is also happening, I believe, the same year the whole licensing bollocks happened with D&D and the Wizards of the Coast, and everybody was looking for a different fantasy TTRPG to play, because it was popular and trendy to boycott Wizards of the Coast for a little bit. And I had my eyes on a few things. There was Shadow the Demon Lord. I always had D&D in the back of my mind, because I know I've got the fucking core books in my room somewhere, because a friend convinced me to buy them, who isn't a friend of mine anymore, coincidentally. And then I stumbled across Mörk Borg, because there was a brief time where like TTRPG actual play people were playing like one-shot and short campaigns of this, and I know there's quite a few podcasts out there, people playing with this, and I know there's also a fairly new-ish YouTube channel that started by doing their channel doing Mörk Borg, and that's just a very silly high stakes thing, and they've done Call of Cthulhu and other things since then, and they've really popped off. And so Mörk Borg did seem a little cool, because it was like the new upcoming thing, and again, like, you know, the satanic borderline horror stuff was obviously going to appeal to me. So I then would buy this at some point along with my partner, who has still yet to play it properly. And I just fell in love with it. I did admittedly find the opening, or like a lack of real structure, its presentation, the different fonts and colours and things, a little bit distracting, just because I'm so used to things being so formulaic, I suppose. But it really doesn't take that much to get into it, because it's still fairly structured. Like, you've got the stuff to do with the world building at the beginning with the different kingdoms. You've got the cathedral of Krubel, I guess, which is the misery thing that I mentioned. So you roll on a d6, and then the result that you get, something happens, and you interpret that however you wish, and then it happens for the 7th time, and that's the end of the world. Yay, lovely, jolly stuff. Then you've got to create the character with like the whole randomness of generating your gear, your classes, etc. The sort of the weapons that you have. And then he said bone, because I'm looking at a bone, and one of the weapons you can get is a femur, which does d4 damage. Who would have thunk? And I just love this wacky element of it, that it's just all over the place. It's so colourful, it's so bright. Like, it tells you the rules after character creation of how combat works, how experience points work, magic or powers, which isn't as mathematical as you would find with D&D. Anybody can use magic, and it requires you to picking up and learning scrolls, and there's a presence check that you have to do to see whether you can use the magic that day, otherwise shit happens, and there's a whole table for that goes wrong as well. Omens, which is basically the game's equivalent of a luck system, and then there's a bunch of random like customization things, like terrible traits that they have, broken body parts, weird oddities, troubling tales, arcane. I can't even fucking read that, but that's fine. Then you've got all the stuff to do with the different classes. That could have been earlier on in the book. You've got different enemies that you can come in contact with, which is all really simple, with HP, morale, you know, what their weapon does, a bit of flavour text. And it really does also turn the script upside down as well with some of its enemies designs. I feel one of its iconic creatures is big-ass goblins. Well, I say they're big-ass, they're big-nose goblins. And in usual fantasy settings, the goblin would be like this staple, like, go-to easy creature to kill. If it's like a video game, it would be like a rat or a skeleton. In TTRPGs, fantasy thing, it's a goblin. Really easy to deal with, and they are here to an extent. But with any combat encounter that you have with them, whether it goes to attack you or whether it hits or not, you're now cursed. And after so many days, if you don't kill the goblin that inflicted you with the goblin curse, you become a goblin. Which makes a really simple enemy design really frightening to deal with. And honestly, I love that. I love how it just turns a lot of these things upside down. I love the randomness with its design and the tables and like creating your character. So it encourages people just to basically create these detailed shock troopers that you can just do whatever with. Sure, you can come up with a load of backstory if you want, but there's nothing in that book that tells you to do that sort of thing. It's really straightforward stuff, and I just love this randomness element to things. And I also love how combat works with initiative, because if you've been a listener of the channel for some time, you will know that I am a huge lover of Vampire the Masquerade. And whilst I have no problem with the mechanics for the most part of the 5th edition core book, which is the latest iteration as of recording this video, the 23rd of September 2025, in the year of the Lord Talos, I prefer some of the older edition stuff. I actually really like 1st edition Vampire the Masquerade. But prior to that, I was really enjoying 20th Anniversary Edition, which is technically the 4th edition of the game. But one thing I really don't like about World of Darkness games is its combat, where rules as written, it's a bit clunky, because you have to roll your dexterity and athletics, and then you have to add a number and something else. No, that's wrong. You have to roll a d10 and then add the combined athletics and dexterity, and that just slows everything down. And then you've got this modifier and that modifier and this and that, and it just becomes a bit of a slog, especially on a game that's supposed to be more focused on like the social dynamic thing. Sure, combat is going to come up, but when it advertises itself as being realistic, it kind of gets in the way of the narrative here, and it doesn't really feel all that realistic, where you've basically got 2 different damage types for bashing and lethal, which is basically the same fucking thing, where a well-placed punch to the face is going to be as lethal as a knife to the heart, right? And then you've got aggravated damage, which is the more supernatural stuff. So it really does everything that it can to make it all drag out and be cumbersome. And so over the years, I have just homebrewed things out. I have removed bashing damage, and I've just had like the lethal or regular damage and then aggravated damage. And I treat initiative how 5th edition treats it, where basically I don't have any initiative for the most part, and I just goes for what makes sense. Now, this being an OSR title, i.e. it's inspired by D&D, which is only the real gripe that I have with it, other than the fact that when you first go into it, it can be a bit overwhelming just to try and comprehend the colours and the presentation and the mishmash of text. But with Mörk Borg, its initiative system is actually really straightforward. You roll a d6. If it's between 1 and 3, you move first, or the players move first. If it's 4 to 6, the enemies move first. Like, really fucking simple. There's no modifiers or things to be put into place. Sure, if part of the narrative there's like an ambush going on, it might make sense for one side to move before the other. If you're dealing with a creature that has like a special modifier that puts it in front or last or whatever, sure, that makes sense, but that's more of a narrative thing for you to go and experiment with in your own time. But the lack of rules and systems allows you and encourages you to put those things into place, rather than being bogged down by big ass tome of rules and systems. And even then, when you're fighting enemies, you don't necessarily fight to the death, because enemies have morale, and I don't actually remember how that works. Oh look, I can just open the back of the book and remind myself. You roll morale if the leader is killed, or half the group is eliminated, or a lone enemy has a third of their HP left. So it just encompasses different mental states here, which makes things a bit more realistic, because so few things like fight to the death. Watch any TV program or film or read a book. How often do enemies, the bad guys, like stay and like tough it out until they're all wiped out? Unless you're watching something about Vikings, and even then that's a bit of an exception. Fuck all. So what do you do for morale? You roll 2d6. If you roll over the creature's morale, d6, it's 1 to 3 they free, or 4 to 6 they surrender, and then you can do whatever it is that needs to be done with them. So it's all really simple stuff. And as I mentioned a moment ago, there's so little there that it really does encourage you just to add and take bits away and just embrace the chaos of what's in there and just take things on the chin. And just to have fun with it and not let the rules and the systems dictate what's going on. Because there's fuck all with Mörk Borg. And I think that is just really cool. And as I've said before, that simple idea of less is more and letting chaos influence like your development and just letting the players just run wild with things and not plan so much, even with the adventure that's at the back, because this has a whole ass adventure with a different like paper quality, because there's all like glossy stuff here and this particular bit shiny, and then this is all like a much thicker paper. Like if I was to make a comparison, like all this, I don't know whether it's going to do this, like up until this point here is all like nice glossy stuff, but then like this stuff at the back is kind of zine like, or purchasing something from Drive-Thru-RPG, and this is just like a simple dungeon crawl. There's a premise, there's a d8 thing to decide the motivation, you go for each room, there are different things that are in here. It doesn't really tell you what you need to do, it doesn't really guide you what needs to be done. You present what the players need to know and then they figure it out, and then different things happen as they go and explore this. And a really nice feature with the PDF version of this is that on the map on your there-ish, if you click on one of the different rooms, it takes you to that specific part of the book, which is a really nice feature. Very unnecessary given how short it is, but it's a really cool thing as well, because it just allows it to be accessible, because the developers really want you to fucking play with the games and the systems, and it's nice that it does that. I don't think I've seen a lot of PDFs and companies that do that so well and effectively, honestly. And that's just really fucking awesome shit. And I hadn't even forgot to mention, this has got a fucking bookmark in it. But yeah, this is just really cool to have. Like, and again, super accessible. Like, as I said, you can go and download the little rule bit at the back. There is a imageless version of the rules, which is just basically a PDF document with text and white paper, which makes it more accessible because you've got the different text fonts completely gone. It's just one sort of text face. So it's more accessible for those who are visually impaired with like screen readers on things, which again is really fucking cool. Which I then find a bit baffling that you don't have interactive character sheets. Like, as cool as the character sheets are with the big explosion of yellow and skulls and things, which every other sort of Mörk Borgian hack has now taken into its stride, you don't have an interactive character sheet. Yeah, I know you've got online VTTs, but for something that's very clearly meant to be like a homage to like the older days of like things being a lot more simple and like being able to homebrew things in and out pretty easily, and it's implied that you're sort of meant to be sitting around and playing it with your friends around a table sort of thing. Most people aren't playing their games like that. Not everybody's going to like Roll20. Not everybody is even aware of Alchemy, which is like one of the newer VTTs that has a lot more bells and whistles and makes it sort of like a visual masterpiece, which I think is so unnecessary when you just need the thing to fucking find the book and the character sheet. Give us some interactive character sheets, please. That would be really based, honestly. You know, just to complete the package of making things super accessible. And that's just something else of this as well, is that how freeing they are with their license, where basically you can do whatever the fuck you want, providing it's not NFTs, which is something that's mentioned on the site. Providing you put the little bit of legal text there, and you can make any sort of homebrew or hack that you want. And there's so many Borg hacks out there, and I'll go through some of the ones that I have because it's just a testament to how much I love this game. I don't usually collect homebrew or fan-made content because the quality can tend to be a bit consistently inconsistent, but I just absolutely love what people have done with this. How freeing the developers are with this, that they encourage people to make their own stuff, and like Johan appears as an artist on so many different fucking things. Like we've talked about already with Chainsaw, which is a horror slasher TTRPG version that he's done some of the artwork for. As of the recording this, I don't have this yet, but there's artwork that can be found if you like go through the Kickstarter and like pre-order it or whatever. And I'm assuming by this point when the video comes out, it will be available to the public anyway. If not, just play things by ear, do some research, look it up. We've had a look at a World War One inspired one that's got some of his artwork in it too, called Farewell to Arms Redux, which I mostly love, but there are some questionable things regarding some of its artwork, annoyingly. And you can go and check out the review that's going to appear on the corner right now. But again, it's just really freeing licensed stuff, and again, just all that's needed is just that fucking logo there and a bit of text somewhere on the store page, and boom, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And it's wonderful, just this amazing collaborative process between everything. And I'm just going to gush now about some of the more Mörk Borg things that I have, fan-made and official stuff. One of my favourite items that I own is this little box here called IKHON, purely because it's filled with Samuel Aria's artwork, and I've talked about him so frequently in my World of Darkness book reviews. Like, I'll just open it up before I describe it to you, and as that one's fallen out, I'll just use this as the example. What would be a good example? And this is actually upside down. Like, shit like that. Really grotesque, dark horror art he does. It's a bit of Yoda speak there. But what is IKHON? Well, if I just have a look at the back of the box, which I have to have upside down again. Ancient god vessels of cursed skin and soot black wood, as rare as valuable as they are blasphemous. The oldest Gargabakian, which is one of the lands, priestess claims Meckenbrul's left hand carved the icons of a knife, press and earth-shattering hammer. Stories, myths, and promises are harboured gifts, and curses are carved into the rocks and monoliths, dotting the dying earth. The two-headed basilisks detest them. According to the church belief, wielding the powers to unfetter the profane profound, bound within is a serious desecration. Crows are sent hunting for heretics. They find the icons. They tattle and tell. Icon wielders burn. Beautiful flavour text just to give you the idea about what these sort of horrible cursed entities are. And then you open up the box and there's the rules there. For profane profound. Age-old and night forgotten folk god shackled within. When wielded, pick a random tract or roll a d4 to determine which is summoned. Roll a d8 determining their response, +1 for any willing human sacrifice. As you do. Those sacrificed must agree to be slain. You must also add a +1 for each significant body part severed from the wielder of the icon. The modifier can never exceed +3. So very dark stuff, but also a bit fucking silly. Just there's no mention of the sacrifice thing on the back, but yet +1 for any winning human sacrifice. Omens cannot be used to change this roll. You cannot request aid again until the effect concludes. Some effects are instantaneous. And I want to show you all the different artwork in that, but honestly you should just go and grab the PDF or go and grab this yourself. I squealed like a little fucking girl once when I saw this in the game store, and just, it was the last one that was there and I just had to pick it up. It's just a wonderful little artifact. Something that was a lot harder to hunt down, however, and I actually found this in London of all places rather than my local game store, is this, which is the Game Master screen, which is a lot smaller, actually. I'm going to put that over there than most Games Master screens, and that one's falling out as well. I'll show you those in a moment, which again makes things a lot more accessible, because rather than towering all above you, can't really get that much closer without like hitting stuff, but very cultic like. But the height of it doesn't cut you off on the rest of the players. It's all like sits at the table there, you can see everything that's going on, but it's very clear what everyone else is doing. It just makes it a bit more inviting, honestly. I find the folding method a little bizarre rather than the standard method of folding, I guess. And there are additional sheets as well, like there's tables of obscure things, and it's double-sided, which I completely forgot about. 40 city events, somewhere to drink, and traits. Like, and these just sort of like stick into place with these little plastic tabs that are in the corner. So okay, I don't need items and trinkets, but I often need somewhere to drink because my players are a bunch of alcoholics. Well, I can just like slot that into place and call that a day. Although one of the corners is now bust on this, which is like a downside for this because it is just plastic. Really fine bit of plastic. Like, it's just fucking cool shit, and I absolutely love the Games Master screen. It is really nicely made as well. A nice thick plasticky material rather than some of that simpler card that you find online of other stuff. Mörk Borg comes from a game called Darkfort, and if you buy I think this came with the Games Master screen, honestly. This is like a very basic dungeon crawl. So if you want to know what the original Mörk Borg was like and just go through a very simple dungeon crawl, you've got that. Great for solo stuff. The other thing that comes with that is like this big old poster thing, which has like a load of things that you roll as well, but I've got no idea how to fucking use that because it doesn't come with a manual, and I think that's just kind of the point. Oh, I did bring it down. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to unfold this now, and I've debated honestly having this framed because it's such a gorgeous bit of material. Well, first of all, we'll start with that gorgeous dragon thing illustration on the back, but the thing I was actually talking about, the Herald Gauntlet of Gaggle something or another as a dungeon. And I've got no idea how to fucking use any of this, but that's just one of the joys of Mörk Borg, that, I don't know, do you roll fucking shit on it? Do you put the players through it with miniatures? Like, that's just completely down for you to use and interpret however you fucking want to. If anybody does know, like, the correct way of dealing with this, that would be absolutely amazing. Of course, Mörk Borg has actually got some other official releases. There's like a cyberpunk version that's called Cyborg, and World of Darkness fans might have seen a meme circulating surrounding this and World of the Apocalypse 5th edition, because in that book, Paradox/Renegade have taken the stance that not all corporations are bad, which is so fucking bizarre. And the meme comes from this ruling here in the Systems chapter. Player characters cannot be loyal or to have sympathy for the cops or the capitalist system. They might find themselves reluctantly forced to do missions for them or their minions, but make no mistake, they are the enemy. And that they are, which I just feel I also have to mention because there's going to be at least that one person saying, oh, it's not political. Yes, it fucking is. Stop it. And this one has got two bookmarks, pink and blue. And the design for Mörk Borg and its associated products to be bright yellow and pink is such a beautiful choice. I can't find the tweet for it that Johan Noor did. But basically, he loaded up like the best-selling thing on Drive-Thru RPG at that point. And everything was like that sort of fantasy, like brownie, reddy, greeny sort of thing, and Mörk Borg just fucking bright yellow, just boom, just stood out right in the middle. It's a fucking fantastic design choice. As we're talking about official things, We've got these beautifully soft and well-produced zines, most of which, by the way, is fan content that's been put into here and distributed it as official material. Like different classes and rulings and systems, travel rules. Like, I love the design of these ones because this one's like, you can come up with your own enemies and the like. Whereas you open that up, and that just opens up a bit more. You've got like the monster approaches and actually make your own monsters. And in case you're curious, it does the same thing on the back as well. What does that one even do? The tables of obscurity. I don't know. I need to fucking read it, but you can interpret these things however you want. This one is more cult focused, when you know how much I love a good cult and fantasy and, well, media as a whole. Which, other than Farewell to Arms, which I've talked about already, it's sort of down to the other unofficial materials here. My favourite one of all time is Fiskboard, which is a fucking fishing-focused Mörk Borg game. Like, I don't even fucking fish, and I just found this so appealing and wacky. It has its own Fisk combat, which is so engaging. One of the most fun times I've had doing solo TTRPG and stuff is using the Fisher class in here, just going around and going fishing as the world's ending and doing a bit of combat here and there. Again, I don't even do fucking fishing, and I had so much fun fishing in this game. It's fucking great. And my least favourite, out of the physical stuff at least, because I've got a lot more digital, is Mörk Borg, which should be really fun and wacky, where you're these sort of like intergalactic orcs with guns and the like. And it's completely fucking bonkers. And I love the presentation and the artwork that's found within here, but it just feels honestly a little incomplete because it specifically requires you to like slap on other dungeons and other Mörk Borgian things, which is great because there's an interesting bit of crossplay there. But I would have liked to have seen a bit more with that specifically. And there's just so many other things out there, and I'm just going to like read a very simple list of things that I have in PDF. There's 40-20 swords, which are not, where you roll up on a load of D20 tables about like the origins, magic placements, the look, and everything else regarding swords. 40 things, which is just like 40 brilliantly illustrated enemies and monsters. Horrible wounds. There's a splat called Kill Your Necromancer. There's Corp Borg, which is really popular as well. You've got Pirate Borg. I completely forgot about Pirate Borg. That one's actually official, I believe, where you're sailing the high seas of the Mörk Borgian engine, which has a very different look to it. It doesn't use so much the yellows and pinks in there, but it does feel like a good successor to Mörk Borg. And it's got really detailed ship combat as well, something that I don't see a lot of in TTRPGs as well. You've got Mörk Borg, which allows you to play fucking dogs and have, like, decent dog mechanics in there. You've got Solitary Defilement, which is, like, semi-official solo rules. I say semi-official because the developers actually released that on their website in a very nice BOK package, which I think is really cool, which is really fucking cool. I'm not a huge fan of it myself because it relies too much on the knowledge and the understanding of Ironsworn, but it's fucking there for people who want it. Like, that's just a small extract of things. I know there's a lot more out there, and I feel this a bit too much now, because just through the nature of being really popular, that some of it is just absolutely garbage, including the one little adventure dungeon crawl thing that I did. It's there, it's a basic thing for people to have fun with, and I feel proud of it, but I know I've done a lot better since then. But there's this, for something to be oversaturated is a huge acknowledgement that something is exceptionally popular. And I just really like this so much. And as I've said already, it's really had a huge impact on how I play and run TTRPGs, and just throwing aside like planning so much and organising so much and understanding that, yeah, there's going to be a bit of railroading here and there, particularly if you're running a one-shot and you need to have a certain end point. But most importantly, it's encouraged me just to let the players go and have fun and embrace the fucking chaos and the weird wackiness. Sure, different settings are going to have different levels of seriousness and the like, but they're going to be those comedic moments through disaster with bad dice rolls and people are going to die horrifically and all the rest of that. And Mörk Borg has been a huge contributor to how I run games, despite the fact I've barely even fucking run it. It's really fucking great, and I know this has been a very rambly and like fast delivery, but I tend to do that when I'm really passionate and happy and excited for something. And even if I don't purchase and pre-order things or back all the different things on Kickstarter, I mean, there was a fucking Jurassic Park themed one that I saw recently, which I wasn't too fond of because I thought you'd play as the fucking dinosaurs, which is so fucking ableist for every autistic person out there. I jest, of course, it looks really cool, it's just not my cup of tea. But like, I get so excited seeing what people are doing with it because it's also encouraging so many people like to create TTRPG products and homebrew and weapons and classes with a really simple and flexible license and system. And I think that is just so fucking cool. It's just something that we just don't see a lot of. And I can understand why a company might be really stingent with its license and things, because if something goes wrong, that's going to be a right old fucking legal ball ache. But it's just so fucking chill and relaxed, and despite being a semi-horror game, it knows how to, like, make fun of itself, which is honestly really fucking cool. So having nearly waffled away now for about 40 minutes, I think it's high time to give you some of the spotlight. What's your favourite thing about Mörk Borg? Do you have a particular favourite Mörk Borg hack? What sort of tools and things do you use when you're running Mörk Borg? Or have you never heard of it before? Are you going to start trying it? Let me know all about that in the comments below. And if I've got you at all remotely interested in Mörk Borg, or you want to try running games a little bit like me in the sense of embracing chaos, because don't try and emulate what I'm doing or any other game master for that matter. You should do what you're doing, because what you're doing is something that nobody else can do. I mean purely about the chaoticness that you can find with Mörk Borg and the pandemonium it encourages with the players. You can go and check out the description below, where I'm going to include a load of other Mörk Borgian things for you to go and purchase. Basically, if I've mentioned it in this video, I'm going to try and include it in the description below, and maybe some other things along the line as well. If you purchase them with those specific links, I get some of the money back because I'm an affiliate on Drive-Thru-RPG, and those sorts of purchases all help me to provide awesome content like this. So I'm able to continue to buy so many cool TTRPG products, homebrew and otherwise, and just waffle about them and introducing you all to a load of other TTRPG shit. Because as we edge towards 2026, I really want to start talking about more general TTRPGs. I know I've been doing a bit of that this year, and I'm really happy with what I'm doing. But I'm just wanting to do that more and more, and it all depends on you with all the cool shit that you do to help me financially, and also the other YouTube shit as well. But if you've got those books already and you don't want to buy them, or you just don't like them but want to support me financially some other way, what you can do is copy the affiliate code and paste it in the URL of any Drive-Thru-RPG product, be it book, accessory, games master screen, cards, whatever, before you add it to the cart. And that helps as well, which is amazing, because you get books, I get books, and you get content for free, which, if you've been doing the math, you'll probably realise now that it's a win-win chicken dinner situation for you. But if you can't do any of that, because I know times are hard for all of us, that's absolutely fine. Like, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. Like, it's a totally optional thing, so if you can do it, that would be absolutely great. But if you can't do that, that's absolutely fine as well. But what you should definitely do regardless is give the video a little cheeky little thumbs up, subscribe to the Lore by Night channel, and share this video with any and everyone who loves what I do. And I'll see you on the next upload, whatever that may well be for you. And until next time, farewell.